All right, sorry about that interruption, guys. The audio hopefully is now better. This is the postgame show brought to you by our friends over at Flight by Yingling. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers and Jerry Hamilton. Longhorns losing 35-10. We've been talking, and we've still got a bunch of your super chats that should be getting called up as well, and we will try to get those right now. So let's go for this one. First from Kyle Witherspoon. All three losses this season, we had either all summer or a bye week to prep. This one hurts the most. What do y'all make of that? I mentioned that two bye weeks, but I didn't connect the dot on Ohio State as well. As Sark lost that get ready magic that he may have had when he just a couple years ago.
The Ohio State game was a little different just because it wasn't totally kind of an embarrassing loss. It was just a loss, right? Lessons learned, you lost, and that team may end up winning the national title again. Who knows? They were the defending national title. The Florida game, you got whipped. Georgia game, you got whipped.
That's a bad sign.
That's the bad sign. Getting whipped out of a bye week, that's a bad sign. And one was your first game in SEC play, and the other one was supposed to be your new rival. By the way, you are not a rival to Georgia. We're done with that. Let's stop. Don't. I you know what? And I was the first one of the first people to say it. And I'll admit I was wrong about that. To be a rival, there has to be, both sides must do their part, right? It's got to be an actual rivalry on both sides, and it's not at all. So no rivalry there. It's just Georgia beating Texas. That's all for now.
Oof. I don't know if I like that. Hey, we've got all your super chats. We're going back through them right now. Christian Perez, Sark needs to get physical on the O-line in the portal this offseason. What do you think, Jerry Hamilton? They certainly have not played well or up to an elite. They haven't been an elite unit on the offensive line this year for sure. What do they need to do on offensive line going forward?
Yeah, I don't think it's as simple as fire coach, go to portal. I think you have to get a physical mentality, and that means you may have to change. Look, Sark's going to have to dig deep on this one because Rod's point, you got physically whipped, and year one in the SEC is one thing, but now everybody's got the goods, right? And now everybody's like, all right, we're going to be physical, run the football in a physical way against you, and we don't think you can run the football in a physical way against us. And I think that's going to be. I don't think it's just as easy as, new offensive line coach, you go to the portal, because these guys are physical on tape. You have to have a physical offensive style of football in this conference to win big long term.
Yeah.
It's more than just changing a coach or a player.
Yeah, I will definitely tell you it's not just that. I think it's multiple things is the problem. I don't think this offensive line is – you recruit quote unquote big humans. How many big humans are actually playing for Texas right now? Is Connor Robinson really a big human? Cole Hudson's got good size, but he's not 330 to 350. Mm-hmm. Trevor Goosby's not in that range. Brandon Baker's not really in that range. DJ, something's going on there. We got to figure out what it is. All right, Tub in Texas. KD35. Rod, do you think Akina needs to finally hang it up? Is that the issue in the secondary, Rod? I'm not trying to point fingers at a coach. I guess that's what I'm asking. Do you think that's coaching? Do you think that's players not understanding what's being coached? The 3 busted coverages for TDs, that's significant, and it obviously buck ends with the coach.
Yeah, no, it is significant.
At some level, those are some older players making those mistakes, including Jalen Gilbo, who made a couple.
Yeah, no, it is. There's no doubt. I'm not gonna go with the Coach Akina needs to hang it up, but there's no doubt. Right now, that's a liability. You got your secondary is a liability at this point, and that's crazy to say because you got Michael Tav was an All-American caliber player back there, and Jelani McDonald back there. You got Malik Muhammad, an NFL player. You have talent back there, but they're not playing as a unit. It's kind of like that offensive line issues now, strangely enough, where you got talent because you recruited talent. There's talent back there, but for a group that has to play in synchronicity, They do not. And that's why you can put them in conflict all the time, or you can isolate certain players, which is also happening, right? The corner opposite Malik Muhammad, I told you guys about this early on. Remember, I was like, Gilbo's got some issues, guys. And it seems like now on the scouting report, when you play Texas, it is clear. You just have some plays drawn up for the corner opposite Malik Muhammad. You just go and you're going to go after him, period. And they did that too. But now they're going after, I think a lot of your guys in the secondary, they're causing them to get into conflict with formations, with different personnel groupings. And they've exposed really some of the mental errors in that secondary. Now in back-to-back games. Vanderbilt did it, and now you've seen Georgia do it. And Georgia did start doing it early too. We didn't see it actually pay off for Georgia till later on, but go watch the film early on. DBs are confused. Yes. They're out of position. You can tell they're discombobulated back there. That is on Coach Akina and the DB coaches. Why are these guys why do they look lost? They look lost for a lot of time. So maybe you need to simplify things. Maybe your pattern matching for these guys, they're not playing it well. You got to get to something they do really well. So maybe they do need to simplify things and go to some more man concepts or some more country coverage where they don't have to read the routes as crisply, because right now that's what's causing them trouble. They're either out of position, out leveraged, or they're reading the wrong thing in the routes, or seeing the wrong things, I should say, with the route combinations.
Rob, what do you think of this comment? And Jerry, I hate to say it, from Justin Yarbrough, that guy that we know well. I hate to say it, but the worst defensive game I've seen since 2021. I think we're a year away. We have to get better. Is it the worst defensive game we've seen since then, or is Georgia? I think Georgia's better offense than people gave him credit for coming in, first of all. But I do think it was look, they got 21 points in the fourth quarter. That's what happened against Vanderbilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks, two games in a row, essentially.
You're right. Yep.
Justin, there may be some truth to that a little bit, but I'd have to go back. No game immediately comes to mind that was worse. I'll put it that way. Since 2021. Jerry's Jacqueline's, I'm not done with Sark yet. I'm old enough to know it only takes 1 year to change a narrative. 2026, baby. Don't give up on 2025 yet, guys. Don't give up on 2025 yet. A couple other comments. Tub in Texas. Sark had 2 weeks to prepare for Florida and Georgia. He's not an elite coach. Corey B., if I was Sark, I wouldn't talk to Kirby ever again until I get a win over him. We ain't friends if you kick my butt. There's a couple more I'm going to get to here in a second. Matt, if you don't mind, would you please put the stats up for us and everybody so that they can see them? Georgia finishing with 357 yards of total offense, 274 for Texas. Arch Manning finishing 27 of 43 for 251. Gunnar Stockton, 24 of 29. Very efficient day for 229. Also had 29 yards rushing. Whereas Arch Manning was from the pocket all day long and getting harassed. Georgia beating Texas 35-10, scoring the final 21 points of the game here. Hey, guys, I want to ask this because I always want to at least give some nods to people that played well. Anthony Hill with a big-time interception at a time of need. I want to call that out. I thought Emmett Mosley had some tremendous catches to help Texas get some momentum on offense when they didn't have it. Anybody else y'all want to point out that actually had some good part of the game tonight?
Anthony Smith played well at times in the game, I thought. I think responding to adversity is for when we're talking about individual players. The team, that's a different thing. Wingo had a terrible first half, came back and had a better second half, right? Anthony Hill had a rough game in coverage in the first half, came back, made a play in the second half. So it's kind of like, is everything bad, meaning all players bad in games? No, absolutely not. I know Arch's stats don't reflect it. I thought Arch Manning played pretty well tonight considering. Considering. I mean, how's this game different without 3 or 4 drops in the first half, and maybe that first drive's a touchdown, and his numbers look a lot different than they ended up, especially after Georgia was able to start teeing off on them when Texas became total pass dependent. And Rod, I think the question is, I don't know if y'all talked about this, and some people are like, well, the penalties caused Texas to go away from the run game. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I thought Texas became pass dependent too early in this football game when they were having success running the football. And I think that's part of the thing I'm looking at with this team. That's just – there's a mentality in the SEC, and Sark's going to have to change his. Because you look at the history of this conference, there's a certain mentality, and Sark's going to have to change his.
Yep, it's interesting. I mean, because he said something about how the running game was working for him at halftime. Actually, I mean, that's one of the things he says. Like, running game's kind of working for him. And then I think they came out in the second half. I want to say and ran it like one of the early plays coming out in the second, and they ran it, and it was a successful run too. So that's something too that they probably. Maybe they gave up on it. Not that they would have had a lot of success, but you could have balanced the offense a little bit more for most of the game, which maybe would help you control the game a little bit more, take some of the burden off of Arch. But overall, I'm with you about Arch. I thought Arch, overall, considering the situation on the road at Athens, going up against a Kirby Smart coach defense, I thought he conducted himself pretty well. Got through progressions really quickly and made it to the check down. And I thought he didn't seem like he lost his composure really at any point. And then obviously the wheels came off later on. But I thought for 3+ quarters, I thought he conducted himself really, really well in that game.
All right, guys, let's go to our CJ Vogel. He's live down on the floor of the stadium in Sanford. I guess it's Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium. CJ, tell us your initial thoughts and what Sark had to say in the postgame.
Yeah, I'm sitting here in the end zone of place. Texas only found once this evening. It was a long night, and Sarkeesian called it a disaster, was his words to describe the fourth quarter, and it's hard to find any other adjectives to perfectly fit what happened in the fourth quarter. It was a close game, and Sarkeesian said hopefully, folks around the country, the committee, folks elsewhere, look around at this game and they see what happened in the first 3 quarters rather than what the final score might, basically tell the story of. But he said, look, the team fought. They have 2 weeks ahead of them, and he's looking at the next 2 weeks as a two-game season in which Texas has to go out there and beat Arkansas and a top 5 undefeated ranked Texas A&M, in which, hey, he still believes this is a team that can make the college football playoff.
What did he have to say about the lack of a run game in the second half and even most of the second quarter, and the ability the issues in the secondary with busted coverages?
Yeah, first off, he said that he reiterated what he said going into halftime. He felt like Texas was running the football well. Oddly, for whatever reason, he didn't stick with that run game, and he said, look, there was opportunities for them in the pass game, and he felt like that's where the team needed to go. And evidently, he didn't work out in his favor that direction. Defensively, he said, look, getting the communication back on the back end is what he was expecting this team to have. Again, just sometimes their wires were crossed, and evidently on 3 of the 4 touchdown passes, that's exactly what happened. Wires were crossed, guys were wide open, and Texas was burnt deep on coverages that they probably have had times in the past. What was really interesting, Sark said on the onside kick, that was something that Texas had practiced in the week leading up with the anticipation that this was going to be called. And he said, quite frankly, look, the front line just didn't recover the football. He said that they were aware of it, but hey, it's on him and his staff to go out there and make sure that they're more prepared next time. But it was an interesting and a bit of a point of the finger, in my opinion. The way that I read it was that, hey, we repped it. It wasn't executed.
I would say that same thing. What do you think, Rod or Jerry? Y'all have any questions for CJ?
Yeah, I would wonder, like, did he say that before the actual play? Were they reminded of it before the play, or were you talking about just in practice? Were they reminded going out there, like, hey guys, watch for the onside kick? Or was that just a practice thing? Was that?
We'll never know the full details of the huddle on the sideline over there, but he did say it was repped. He did say that, so be aware. Obviously, you look back at the SEC championship game. What was it? It was a 4th down fake punt that got Texas in surprise. Tonight, another special teams kick, this time an onside that went from the last time Arch Manning touched the football was a 4-point deficit, which then turned into an 18-point deficit. Jeez.
Hey, CJ, I'm just wondering this because, look, it's human emotion, and I know chat may get on me for asking this question, but there's a reason I'm asking this question. Was Sark's demeanor the same or worse compared to Florida tonight in the press conference?
It was worse than Florida. Florida was still, it was a kick in the groin, but it was one that, at the time, the stakes were not where they are today. This felt like he knew what a loss tonight meant and the manner in which it happened meant for the Texas season and what it might obviously mean for the postseason as well. It was significantly different. Additionally, he said, to change the topic there, look, he said Arch Manning he thought played very well going on the road. He feels like he's now what you would consider a seasoned vet playing in hostile environments like this. So if you want to find a positive here tonight, it would be that Arch Manning has grown into what you would hope he would be after 10 games so far in the SEC. But, Jerry, I completely agree with you. I do. I think Texas had success in the running game. 33 yards on the opening drive. They end with 23 in the game. I don't know how that's possible, right? But there's got to be some sort of, personality change when it comes to the physicality and what Texas needs up front.
That's a great question. Did Sark say anything about getting beat at the line of scrimmage tonight?
He did not. He did mention that the lines of scrimmage did go too often in the wrong direction. But he said, again, he felt like this team was very prepared coming into this weekend. He felt like this was a game plan that was in a position to make plays. And, to his point, there were 4 drops in the first half. There were 7 penalties in the first half. This was a team that was 0 for 6, yet only down 11. And, in the middle of late third quarter was only down by 4. So there were opportunities there. But too often did Texas stub its own toe and kind of run into the wall that had been, popping up too often this year.
Yeah, I think Kirby Smart pulled out the old magic 8 ball and rubbed on it a little bit and came up with 2 4th-down conversions and an onside kick. And Steve Sarkisian did not have that in his magic bag.
You know what that felt like? Bob Stoops in the Texas OU series when he pulled a couple of things like that. You're like, very demoralizing when they happen and how they happen. Yeah. It felt very similar to me.
And it makes you wonder, where are they in the Texas bag? Where are they in the Texas special teams? We haven't seen a fake punt this year, right? We haven't yet seen the aggressiveness of a Kirby Smart in the last 2 games that Texas has played. I did want to add as well, the flats were wide open tonight, and Colin Simmons made a pretty interesting comment. The question was, why do you think that was the case? Why do you think Georgia had so much success throwing to the running backs and the tight ends in the flat to allow them to run after the catch? He said, I think a part of that came from the Florida game. And guess who was at practice this week in Athens? Billy Napier, right? So I thought that was an interesting comment from Colin Simmons. And, that's something that I'm sure on tape Georgia was able to pick up on, and they certainly found success in that regard tonight.
CJ, final thoughts for you as you get ready to head home from Athens.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is, look, for 7 weeks, we watched this team squander opportunities against good teams, against bad teams, and the wins and the way that they won games, I think, kind of masked what the deficiencies of this team were. Right? They couldn't run the football, very, consistently. There was penalties all over the place. You get in the red zone, you stub your toe offensively, you run into that glass wall that I'm talking about. But you win those games in close fashion, right? So it masks what the issues were that caused you to be in close games against bad teams, in which you see them against a quality opponent with equal or more talent on the other side. And those deficiencies or lack of strength areas are just exposed to the max. And that was exactly what happened in the 4th quarter, in which you don't play the complementary style of football. You don't buy into the run in which you think you have it. And altogether, it's amplified to a point where now it looks like an embarrassment at the end of the day. And the scoreboard would certainly replicate that.
Yeah, 35-10. Longhorns go down. CJ, thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Sark, a little demoralized, according to CJ. Interesting conversation there. Hey, before we move to back to some more questions you guys had, Flight is the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an easy drinking upscale light beer designed to elevate your taste buds with just 2.6 gram carbs per serving. Flight's an easy to drink beer with a clean, crisp taste. Try Flight from Yingling, thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends at Faust Distributing. I'm going to need a flight after tonight a little bit. I need to fly away a little bit, actually. Hey, Jerry and Rod, as we go in through some of these questions, a lot of people talking about Dwayne Akina in the secondary, 57 cal. Can you have a discussion about Akina? We saw Nanson's impact immediately last year. It's not just him, though. It's also Mark Orfe at corner and Odo Hudson at nickel. You know, they didn't look coordinated on the back end tonight, for sure. So some questions like that. Also, this one's a good one, I think. Don P. Overall, Georgia players had better on-field IQ than Texas. I don't know if they had a better on-field IQ or they just executed better.
Situational awareness. I mean, I understand what they may be saying. I mean, IQ could be just saying the same thing, but Colin Simmons, right? The offsides. I mean,
Yep.
Everybody knows that's one of the oldest tricks in the book. And it's like, well, you got to be ready for that. It's like the oldest trick in the book. And, you know, the belief is that they may not have even snapped it if he does it. You know, he's not offsides on that play. Remember there's a third and long early on in the game. Texas gave up on a deep out route. And I believe Malik Muhammad was in coverage. They blitzed.
It's like 15 yards off.
Yeah. And they blitzed six. They brought six guys. They brought Anthony Hill. They had Collins. They had I believe they had the NASCAR package in, and they blitzed Hill and Ty Anthony Smith. You got to know as a DB, just based on the front, like, oh man, they bringing six with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill. Oh, he ain't got long to throw it. That ball's coming out. So why overemphasize being over the top when you know the ball's coming out? So, you know, in that situation, you should slow play it. You should be kind of ready to jump those routes. And so I do wonder sometimes situational awareness with guys like, hey, third down distance, what's the call? Are they blitzing? They blitzing. They're coming after you. Are they dropping 8? Then you got help. You got inside help. So it's different ways you can play it. And I do wonder about that sometimes, the Texas DBs, if they are dialed in to know the situation, the down, the distance, and that affects their leverage and where the help is. They should know that. And sometimes I do question that watching the film.
This one from John Sibley Butler. Rod, is Georgia running a 2003 offense that you faced as a player, all downhill with few passes? We are more of a pro-style offense. Is Georgia the only team running what feels like a downhill offense?
And they don't throw downfield a ton either. You know what I mean? Like you can almost remember the few times.
They nickel and dime you. Yeah.
Yeah, but they went vertically downfield. Everything is within 5 yards, 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So it's a very high percentage passing game. And for Gunnar Stockton, I mean, he makes the throws, but for him, it is a very quarterback friendly offense for him, man. They gear it towards his strengths. They do. They build it. Basically, offense is built around what does Gunnar Stockton do well? Let's do that. Let's not ask him to do things that he's not good at. And I love Sark and his offense, but there's some Sark will ask a quarterback to do things that quarterback ain't good at. He's like, no, this is what my offense does, so you do that. And it's like, well, he ain't good at that. So why would you ask him to keep doing that when that's not really a strength of his? But that's just, Sark being stubborn at times.
All right, this one from Mamba P. The signs were there all year, but players stuck together and earned W's. Nothing has changed, however. This is an undisciplined, non-physical team. Worst of all, we will watch both rivals in the playoff. There's some truth to that because after A&M's comeback today and OU's defeat of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, all OU has to do is win out, and they're going to be in, guys. And they should be. They should be if they win out.
They should be. If you win at Tennessee and Bama back-to-back weeks and then you win your final two on their schedule, they should be. They deserve to be. And I think this is where Sark's really going to have to dig deep because all of us, everybody, 99% of college football world had Brent Venables fired this year. And he's actually ascended this year. Everybody just assume A&M will just do their thing. Mike Elko, he's a good coach, but A&M will always be A&M. Well, Mike Elko in year 2 is in the playoff, and he's going to be 11-0 coming to Austin. That doesn't mean they're going to win the game. So we've seen the two rivals ascend, and right now we've seen Sark go the other direction this season. That's when you better dig real deep, because you know what, Mike Elko. Somebody asked about what are they doing? Bobby, they have a physical downhill run game. He built the team in 2 years for the SEC. Physical downhill run game. 2 years.
Yep. They also had some superior recruiting classes, particularly to deal with that. But I hear what you're saying. Jimbo did not leave the cupboard bare. I'll put it that way.
They just left it undisciplined.
Yes,
that's true.
Very much. Dylan S. Want piss Texas decision makers off? Crap the bed and watch OU, A&M, and Tech in the college football playoff. Kirby isn't too proud to hire DC. Sark should take notes. Kirby hired a DC from the very start, though, guys. He didn't walk into that. He did that from the very outset. I will agree with you, though. That is going to, Dylan, that's going to sting if all three of those teams make the playoffs. Dylan D. Herring, imagine a world where we don't convert a miracle against ASU last year and follow up this season 1-7. 1-7 against top 10 teams or top 5 teams. Writing is on the wall unless we hire an OC. Is that? Look,
I'm not trying to be a silver lining guy here, but your main field goal from winning the SEC championship too. So I mean, you can look at 2 different games there. Now it's just to be fair. I mean, but my big reality is at the end of the day, you're 0-3 against Georgia, and you're never going to be the man unless you can beat the man. And the only way you're going to beat that man is have a more physical football team.
Yeah. They almost got him last year, but not quite. Crunkful, which coaches are on the hot seat? Flood, Banks, Akina? Maybe none. The answer is we don't know that answer. I would say this, the special teams continues to get penalties, even though the special teams may have won 3 games for Texas this year.
And let's say exactly.
At the same time, they have been undisciplined and gotten blocks in the back. I mean, and ill-timed issues. Kyle Flood and his offensive line has not lived up to their billing. Doesn't mean he should be fired. Dwayne Akina, and doesn't mean he should be fired. He's been a coach for 35, 40 years. It's not like he forgot how to coach. I think that's a little too far down the road. Rod, you have any comments?
I think it has to be something that has been problematic and existed over a large sample size. So for the Akina thing, like the secondary has had about four games of a sample size to have an issue. I think Akina just got here. I don't expect there to be a big shakeup because Sark loves continuity already with that. And when it comes to Jeff Banks, you're right. It's kind of been 50-50. You got the best punt returner in the country, but also there have been some glaring, issues, penalties on special teams as well. So, but like you said, they basically won games for you. So, and Jeff Banks is, like I said, he's got other responsibilities too. So I don't necessarily see a shake up there. And Kyle Flood, last year you had one of the better O-lines in college football. This year, no doubt, it's one of the worst O-lines in college football, and no excuse for that at a program like Texas. But like I said, I think Sark's going to make a move because he hasn't been one to be hasty about those types of decisions. That he would need it to exist over a large sample size where there was no solution that they could bring to the table, and there was no way to solve those problems. So, I don't foresee that happening right now. But I could be wrong. But it could get worse, I guess. It's just the guess I'm getting to. If it gets worse, then maybe that's a different conversation. Right now, I think the coach is kind of working on solving the problems they have offensively. And think about, we were just complimenting the O-line and some of the improvements they made with the Cole Hudson move, the guard, and Connor Robertson. And so it is a work in progress, but I'll admit it has been for the entire season, it has been a liability. There's no doubt about that. The secondary just became a liability second half of the season as you play better quarterbacks who are more comfortable in their systems. The most disappointing thing about the secondary is, they're not making a lot of plays on footballs, and I've said that, like they get beat, but they're not making plays on football. And you have an elite pass rush, and you still are getting beat on the back end a lot. That doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't add up. I can understand you get beat on the back end. The quarterback got all day. Quarterback don't even got all day. And you're still getting beat on the back end and not making plays on the football. So, yeah, there's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect right now, what's happening in coverage and what's happening with the front. And that was the case, though, in 2022 before they kind of fixed everything. Remember, there was a lot of disconnect between what was being called in the coverages and how they were played and what was happening in the front. And they fixed it, and we thought they had fixed it for good. Turns out it's rearing its ugly head again.
Yeah, I always have the two thoughts on the fire everybody that's assistants. If you go firing everybody, then the next year there's only one person to fire, and that's where these head coaches put them in a tough spot. Because if you go fire a bunch of guys, then if the players and coaches change and the results stay the same, you're the next guy up on the block. And two, I would say this: everybody says, "Oh, just Flood's got to go, and that's going to magically change anything." No, it's not. It's not. Yeah. You have to change your way of thinking off your offensive scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Else you can reload. You can bring in all the offensive line coaches you want. It's not going to change anything unless the mentality changes and the scheme that fits the SEC and what you're going to have to do to ultimately ascend in this league changes.
The scary thing is, Jerry, I think you're right. I think he tried, though, earlier this year. I think that's what's discouraging to Sark. I think he tried to be more of a power run game, downhill run game. The Cedric Baxter injury, I think, really, kind of derailed that. I mean, they want to be pro style, kind of get vertical, old school play action, get Arch under center. I think he wanted to. Remember, at one point he said, "We're tired of kind of the gimmick offense. Like we're tired of that. We want to get in your face and play bully ball." And honestly, right now, that's not in their DNA. And that's trouble. It's like, we can't really do that. That's not really in us, even though we recruit big humans. Right. They're not really built to play bully ball. And whether that's something that exists schematically or that's something that philosophically exists, like, I don't know. And I think that's what Sark right now is dealing with, in that, because the offense is not what he thought it was going to be. And that's why your offense right now is having so many problems. It has no identity because Sark, he almost prematurely projected what they were going to be before actually looking at the talent and evaluating the strengths of the individual pieces that he had.
I completely agree with that statement, because they do not have the problem that they don't have for the second consecutive year. They don't have a running back that can run duo inside.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're right.
They don't. And for those of you wondering whether or not Cedric Baxter is still injured or close to 100%. Did he look like he had any juice tonight? Twice when he had the ball in his hands? No, he doesn't have any juice right now. Now, I'm not saying he won't eventually get back, but when he pushes off, it's not the same Cedric Baxter that explodes into a guy and knocks him back 2 feet because he's coming at him with such force. Mm-hmm. Just a different guy. And so you add that with some other aspects of it. And it's interesting that we're getting at it. Nick V. I'm trying to find Nick V's comment. Hold on a second. It seems like Sarkeesian hasn't outcoached teams, but relies on talent more often than not. That's the case with every coach, by the way.
Yes.
Even when they were winning. Besides 2021, the defense has been the best part of the team with an offensive coach. There's some, I think there's some truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I will also say this: most championship teams are defensive oriented first. Aren't they?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean the LSU team, they were kind of like an offensive led first team. But yes. You're right. I agree with you for the most part. I think you're right. And remember, that came out of nowhere. Anybody knew Ed Orgeron had put that together with the Joe Brady thing and Joe Burrow. That kind of hit a climax at a kind of a weird time. But you're right for the most part. I think they build through defense. That's been the Saban model, Saban and the Kirby, and even honestly with Ohio State. I mean, I think you're right about the D. The D kind of, even though it was off it, the D always stayed pretty steady for them. They brought in Jim Knowles, and then Chip Kelly after that. So I think you're right about the D. I think you're right about that.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Nick, for the question. This one from Mamba P. Oh, no, we already had that one. I'm sorry, guys. My apologies. This one from Torrid 499. Bobby, Georgia has not looked good all season. Are we really that much worse as a team? Auburn was the only other SEC team to score under 14. I just want to say this. I watched the Georgia-Mississippi State game last week. If you think they've not looked good all season, you didn't see that game because they absolutely obliterated Mississippi State last week. Now, granted, that's the best they've looked all year was last week. But now they've done a few games in a row here, and Georgia is on a little bit of a roll.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't say they haven't looked good. And what are they, 9-1 right now?
I think the way, if somebody's saying that, and I'm not speaking for Torrid, but are they as good as past Georgia teams? Probably not. But it's going to be hard to be in the portal era. But like most teams, like you want your teams to be, and the majority of teams are, they do get better as the season moves along. And you are seeing this team get better as the season moves along. And they're like the team that's ready for the March Madness. They're peaking at the right time. You don't want to peak too early, but they're peaking at the right time.
This guy is much more – Gunnar Stockton's much more Stetson Bennett than he is Carson Beck, by the way. Everybody get that feel? Hey, Rob, one other thing you mentioned about the offensive line. I want to say this. The offensive line actually compared this performance to what we saw a year ago in Austin. Wasn't it better? This performance?
Yeah. Different Georgia pass rush, though. Different Georgia pass rush.
Yes. Yeah. Different players. I'm not.
Yes. I'm with you. I thought it much improved because you didn't have the negative plays you went all the time. Yeah.
And by the way, CJ Allen went out in the second quarter of this game. They didn't have their best defender.
That is also true.
Yep. 57 Cal Mosley is the only wide receiver that plays like he wants to be wide receiver one. He goes all in and every snap he's out there. I don't know about that. I mean, I will say that I think he's earned more playing time now and more targets.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But I don't think he's the only one, 57. I've
never questioned how hard DeAndre Moore plays in a football game ever.
Yeah. I agree with that. Kyle Witherspoon, for those cheering on South Carolina early today, you better be glad A&M came back. It may be our only way into the playoff if we happen to beat A&M.
That's he said you got to have another big win on the schedule to.
Oh yeah,
and that's your only big win left. Nobody cares about you beating Arkansas, so that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I'd have to go back in Tubman, Texas says most embarrassing loss since Arkansas bowl game.
Ooh, that's a long time ago. Wow.
No, that
one hit him hard.
Yeah, I mean, didn't they lose to Notre Dame one time, like 30? I mean, just
Sean Watson got fired 2 days later.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Maybe I just don't see it that way, guys. You just got beat by a really good football team. Arkansas was a bad football team that beat Texas that night. Texas looked totally out of it. Jerry, Juan Garza asked, Jerry, does this hurt with Tyler Atkinson and James Johnson? What about the recruiting? People have asked a little bit about that earlier.
Recruiting's so different nowadays. I mean, for these losses to hurt, somebody would have to come off for a bigger NIL deal or a new NIL deal. I think there's so much more that goes into that. Some kids see opportunity. Some kids may just want to get away from home and do something different, Now, here's where a game like this can hurt you down the stretch in recruiting. If Georgia decides they're going to go back in on a couple of guys, say, hey, now, I tried to tell you we're the top dog and nobody's taking us down.
Yeah.
Period. So what's your rebuttal to me now?
Yep. That's good.
It might work with Rod Babers.
He's right. That's good. That's a good pitch right there, right?
Sark's success, big buddy pal, chief big guy. Sark's success has elevated expectations, no doubt, man. He must now exceed those expectations before people begin wondering who can. I do not think Sark is on the hot seat. Sark's not on the hot seat. I can tell you that from, the very top. The issue becomes, to your point, is he has elevated expectations, so they're going to want more. That's just what that is the. I mean, and Sark knows this as well as any coach. You are a victim of your own creation sometimes.
Prisoner of your own excellence.
Yes.
Well, and we are more in a national championship or bust mentality in college athletics than ever before because of coaching salaries, NIL players, you know what they're getting paid, and portal is double the instant gratification. We're more in a national championship or bust scenario than ever, and these guys are paid a hell of a lot of money, and I'm not falling, and I'm not going to feel bad for guys that are getting $50 million buyouts, I'll tell you that. But the reality is we are in a more of a national championship or bust scenario nowadays in college athletics, if it's even college athletics anymore, whatever it's called.
We need to simplify scheme. Brent Williams says on defense and be ready to pivot faster on offense. Too many slow developing plays. There may be some truth to that, but I think that Texas got beat badly at the start of this game. After that first drive, I think Georgia was ready with some play calls. They didn't do anything difficult on their first two drives. They didn't come out of their comfort zone, and they were up 14-3.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to say have a criticism as it relates to that for the Longhorns tonight, is they got to have a little bit more fire earlier. They got to do something to disrupt things earlier. You can't just start defending on the third series and start sending blitzes on the third or fourth series. Maybe to be a little aggressive earlier to try to thwart some of that momentum that you definitely don't want to give them when they're at home, like Georgia was tonight.
Well,
right.
We've reached the point now in athletics, period, at the college or pro level, where there's analytics broken down on every offensive and defensive coordinator, every play caller from every game they've coached.
Mm-hmm.
These guys have the analytics on everything. So, Rod, you always say, who's going to break tendency? Man, there are times where you better break tendency pretty quickly
early
in games like this because they have the book on you. They have every first defensive play call of every game you've coached in the last 10 years in analytics now. They have the percentages of what you're going to call on every down and every distance. And they're like caddies with that walk the course and have the yardage book and know every single yardage a golfer is going to hit every club. That's where we're at with analytics nowadays.
Yeah, I want to say this: tendency breakers, going for it on fourth down on your own 30, onside kick. Those are tendency breakers, right?
Yes, they are.
Are they not? All right, Dante Payne. Arch played really good. Disappointed with the drop balls in the secondary. Kirby is a hell of a coach. Onside kick, went for it on fourth. That's what we just talked about, Dante. Cisco Diaz, move Littleton to the other corner spot. Maybe.
It's in the spring.
That sounds bad idea.
Something needs to happen. I think Cade Phillips is going to be a good player. I just don't, they need to find a way to play more press earlier in games rather than just let a guy sit back and pick them apart. Cantina, Bobby, bring up the UGA arrests again like last year. This is what happens when you can't trash the field to influence the game. Congrats on ours, though. Teams have been developing well.
That should have been meant for me. That should have been meant for me. I'm the one that always goes to the arrest. But if you're at Cantina, if you're a police officer, probably good night to go get your radar gun out in Athens.
Hey, and also apparently College Station guy got for elbowing and pointing at South Carolina guy. Not a good day for the Troopers.
Not good.
Not a good day for the Troopers. Lane Seawright, losing to both Ohio State and Georgia feels like the program is clearly a tier below. Should be a call to action for everyone in and around the program, coaches, donors, recruiters, everyone.
Yeah. It's I agree with that. I think there's a tier, and right now Texas is right below that tier, but that tier has like two teams in it. It's like Ohio State and Georgia. So it's not like you're missing out on a lot. I mean, it's two teams up there, but that's the standard Texas is trying to get to, no doubt.
I think those are the two, by the way.
Those are the two.
Spencer Eisern, who recruited these players that don't fit the scheme? When I was talking about offensive line, you know, when I was talking about the size and not really being quote unquote big humans,
Maulers.
yeah, and I say not big human, I'm talking about monstrous humans, right? Like Nick Brooks and those kind of guys. Definitely Texas did. It's a completely Sark built team right now, I believe. Maybe one or two players that are remnants from a previous regime, but I think that my thought process on it is it's not just about scheme, it's about development. There's a lot of pieces to it. I still think Texas is a young team as well, guys. So let's not forget about that. Crunkful, Sark deciding on offense before knowing his talent. That's what you talked about. What does that say versus creating an offense based on personnel he has? The best coaches do that. What do you think? Is that part of the miss?
I do think some coaches, like, coaches have, I always refer to them, some coaches have a formula, right? And some coaches have like a system. And Sark has an offensive system. It's his calling card. He carries it with him everywhere he goes, right? Alabama, he ran that system. He ran that system when he was at Washington. It's his system. It goes with him. And I think, honestly, Sark right now, I wonder if he's being, kind of influenced by the talent he has, or he's letting, the system dictate with the type of talent he brings in. Because I remember Greg Davis was actually, and I know a lot of you don't want to hear Greg Davis' name, but he was really good as a formula coach. He never really had a system. They would literally bring in talent every year, him and Mac, and they would reevaluate and go, all right, this year we're going to run this. Remember, they changed their formula with Vince Young. They literally changed it about what but 2004 they changed it. Like, nah, we got to go with the zone read option with this dude. That's the way to go. With Chris Sims, it was a pro style offense. With Cole McCoy, it was more of a pro spread offense, right? So, I don't think Sark's got a system, and that's what he's going to do. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but Sark's got a system, and he's going to bring in guys and fit them into his system. So he's got to be, I don't know, I think he's got to be careful and kind of meticulous in the types of players he's bringing in if he wants to evolve his system to something with bigger wide receivers or with a certain type of quarterback. Like, he's recruiting more mobile quarterbacks now, quarterbacks that can improvise, quarterbacks that can work off schedule. I think that is intentional and deliberate. Like you talk about the offensive linemen, the big humans, right? Does that fit what he wants to do with the outside zone scheme, which is bread and butter? All those things are things to consider. I just think this particular team, he almost, I can say he almost called his shot as to what the offense was going to be. We're going to be vertical, deep passing game, power run game. Remember, Mac did that too. Mac did it toward the end. Mac called his shot and was like, we're going to be what Bama is. We're going to be a power run team. And that wasn't what Mac Brown, Texas football, was kind of built on at the time. So I just think oftentimes you can make a miscalculation as a coach. And I think Sark miscalculated what the offense is going to be. That's why we've seen it change so drastically in recent weeks. And I think that's the best offense for them to run right now. Don't mean it was going to be an offense good enough to beat Georgia, though. And I don't know if it's going to be good enough to beat A&M, frankly.
I don't know not if you can't cover them. You blow coverage against that, you might as well kiss goodbye.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't this team supposed to be a class full of players with state championship experience? That should have made this team tougher and more disciplined. Naturally, need more vocal, in-your-face leaders in that locker room. I think it's a young team, and there are state championship experience. But guess what? You think Georgia doesn't have state championship experience on its roster too? I mean, yes, but that works both ways. Do they need more vocal leadership? Maybe. But again, young team overall. Travis Cadell. Every time we see a flag on special teams, I think 24. That's not good, fellas. Yes, Ward Roberson does get flagged quite a bit, and you are not alone in knowing that when you hear that there's been a penalty called that you on special teams, that you automatically think it might be number 24.
Maybe.
Sorry about that. This from Samir Paul. Was Baxter going to be bigger before injuries? Love Trey, but he looks small compared to UGA and OSU running backs. Need to recruit bigger running backs. Is Cooper big? Jerry. Hey,
Yeah.
Baxter's definitely bigger than Wisner now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Baxter was 213, 214 coming out of high school. He was always going to be 225-ish once he filled out his frame. Yeah, he was always going to be a bigger guy. Derek Cooper, seeing him this season, 6'1", about 205 to 210 in that range. He'll probably max out his frame around in the low 220s, I would say. James Simon will probably be a 215, 218-pound guy when he fills out his frame. So they do have some bigger frame backs coming in the program.
All right, this one from Ladarian Watson. Sark needs to hire an OC. That seems to be a thread here. So he can be the HC and focus on this team being physical and disciplined. Soft and undisciplined won't work in the SEC. I want to say this. I mean, Jerry's made it a point about physicality. CJ mentioned it. I'm not saying that Texas doesn't need more physicality. I would not call this team soft. No chance. That's not what I saw on defense for 3 quarters after they got.
Yeah. Georgia wasn't running the ball effectively until late in that football game.
Right.
I think midway through the third quarter, Georgia had 38 yards from their running backs. That may have been the lowest they've had in an SEC game at that point. Maybe Auburn had them around that number 2, who's really good against the run. But no, I think for me on that question is it's on the offensive side of the football. I mean, this is a power run league. You got to be able to freaking power run the ball long term in this league. Just look at the history of the league and who's had success.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 57 Cal. Sark was telling people preseason that they've been building towards this year. Think it was just a miscalculation at too many positions. What do y'all think it was just a miscalculation? I don't. He hasn't been building just towards this year, by the way. So I would take some exception with that. I think everybody has thought that 2026 would be that likely, like building towards. It would be the second you'd have a second-year starter at quarterback. You know, they built towards 2024 and I think 2026. You know, a lot of people had higher expectations from 2025, and rightfully so, by the way. I'm not telling people not to have high expectations. Just think it was a little different. All right, guys, that is going to do it for all of our super chats. One more question. Pete had a question from the previous thing asking which bowl game will the Longhorns be in?
Oh, no.
Rod and Jerry, it's gotten to that point of the show where we're not going to be able to answer that. But
Whoa, why do you say that?
I say it because it's not going to be on this show, Jerry. Not going to be on this show. All right, hey, look, this is going to do it for the post-game show. Longhorns lose 35-10 to the Georgia Bulldogs. Blown out in the fourth quarter after getting the score to 14-10. Georgia scores 21 straight, including 2 fourth-down conversions in the third quarter, followed by an onside kick. Tough stuff there for them. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of On Texas Football. Thank you to Rod Babers. Thank you to Jerry Hamilton. Thank you to our sponsor, Flight by Yingling, as well as all of our game day sponsors, Tito's Handmade Vodka, Austin's Original, and then also Von Lane. Make sure you ride their bus premium service each and every opportunity you get, as well as Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. For Jerry Hamilton, Rod Babers, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchinson. I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good one. Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.